Appreciate y'all having us out here today to talk a little bit about what the City of Asheville has going on and our partners through the basin here with the Shenandoah. It's been a huge effort on the part of the city and the various partners, Buncombe County, the Army Corps of Engineers, but I always think it's important to remember. And you saw some of these pictures up here before, but it's always important to remember what happened in 2004 in the previous floods, and learn from those events. We want to learn from those. We want to actually find solutions to those problems, and that's some of the things I want to talk to you about today. You saw the basin. Jim showed us the Shenandoah River Basin earlier. Key points is, it goes from near Mount Mitchell up here, Black Mountains in this area, Monterey, it spreads and it runs with that east-west corridor of I-40 down to the confluence of the Prince Broad River and the Shenandoah Basin, which is about a mile and a half below Biltmore Village, which is a huge tourist facility for the city of Asheville. Y'all saw similar maps today. Key point here is, and it was made, Jim made it earlier, is the amount of rainfall that we received in Asheville was around that 4 to 6 inch mark. If you look north up here near Mount Mitchell, Black Mountain area, they're getting 12, 14, 16 inches of rain and more. They got higher reports in some areas. And that water's got to go somewhere, and it certainly will come down the Shenandoah Basin into the town of Black Mountain, Monterey, and travel on down into the town of Asheville. So looking at the flows, in 2004 it was estimated that there was 13,000 cubic feet per second that came through Biltmore Village. In 1940, there was about 18,400. The flood of record is 1916, and that was reported at 23,000 cubic feet per second. 10,000 cubic feet per second more than came through in 2004. So that's a huge magnitude of water coming through there. Now, the numbers in 1791, I can't verify that. That's reports from our consultant. Had found those numbers somewhere, Carl. I'm going to look at you, but they got about 40,000 cubic feet per second in 1791. But of course, the flood of record is the 1916 event. Ivan hit right behind Francis. 10 days later, we're dealing with this event again. It was estimated over $200 million of damages and impacts to Western North Carolina. Major infrastructure was damaged. The key, and again, a lot of these things are similarities to what other folks have presented earlier, but the key here is this hit in September. October is the prime time for tourists in the mountains. Folks want to come here, they want to visit the area, look at the leaves. We have all this infrastructure damage that really affected, government agencies. It affected local business owners also. So that's key, the timing of these flood events. Some of the actions in response to the floods was, our legislators went to bat for us. They stepped up and passed the Hurricane Recovery Act of 2005. We refer to that as Senate Bill 7. Since that time, Asheville's been successful to get roughly $5.7 million to go towards these flood mitigation efforts. Earlier it was mentioned about the Flood Damage Reduction Task Force. This was a unique group because it was made up of not only the folks from the city of Asheville, but it was made up from leaders all over Buncombe County through the Shenandoah Valley. We had private partners in there. We had DOT was in there. We had folks from Division of Water Resources. NEMAC was in there. Jim was a big part of that team. Brown and Caldwell was a big part of that team. So that was a good group to bring together and start talking about what could be done with the flooding. They recommend that we do a watershed study and to find out the areas that we could do the flood mitigation efforts on. The motto of the group was to keep it out, slow it down, and get out of the way. And you think about that, that makes sense. You want to keep it out at all possible. There's going to be times that you can't, so you want to slow it down and reduce those velocities and those impacts. And then you want to get out of the way. You don't want Jerry to have to be called to come in and rescue folks. So some other things we mentioned earlier in the questions and answers was the city did go out and implement an emergency action plan for the North Fork Reservoir. And what that does, we talked about it, was kind of giving a guide to when to drop the elevation of the reservoir and allow it to be more of a flood control structure when these hurricanes and storms were coming. Division of Water Resources did a preliminary study and located some potential flood control projects during that same time frame. the Corps of Engineers went out and actually, through partnering with the city, went out and developed emergency action plans for 72 structures within Biltmore Village. The key I want to point out here, the Corps has been a partner throughout this project with us and with the county. But the project manager at the time came up to Asheville. They were calling for a hurricane to come through. And he came up to Asheville about a week ahead of that hurricane. Well, the hurricane never came, but he did come to Asheville, hand-delivered these emergency action plans to these businesses. I think he talked to everyone but 3 of the business owners or the tenants of those. So I thought that was a great effort on the Corps' part. We talked earlier about Buncombe County was modeled and mapped for the floodplain. And Asheville entered a feasibility cost share agreement with the Corps of Engineers to continue the study. During that same time frame, we entered into an agreement or a contract with Brown and Caldwell to look at the Swannanoa Basin and identify flood projects throughout that basin. The study with Brown and Caldwell has been complete. We're still ongoing the efforts with the Corps. The goals of this was work cooperatively with all the folks that's impacted in the Swannanoa Basin. And again, the Corps of Engineers is a big part of that team. We wanted to begin implementing the low-hanging fruits at the earliest possible times. We wanted to produce a feasibility report on that from the Corps. We also wanted to enter into a National Economic Development Plan or a locally preferred plan, and those are all working with the Corps of Engineers in the Section 205 feasibility study. Here's some of the project stakeholders, and you can see it's bigger than the city of Asheville. It's a great group of folks that have been involved with this project from day one, looking at the efforts here. So when we first started talking with Brown and Caldwell, they came out and they assessed the basin. They looked at the Swannanoa. They looked at the various potential projects. We had key stakeholders that came to the table from all these areas, and during that process, we originally identified 48 projects through the basin. Over time, some of those projects fell off. The economics didn't work out for the benefits that was received, and when you're talking and dealing with the Corps of Engineers, they look at a benefit-cost ratio. They look at that being greater than 1 to 1. So if you got a project that costs $100,000 and you're getting $90,000 worth of benefits, the Corps is not going to consider that project moving forward. So again, we got the Swannanoa Basin here and 48 possible projects. As Brown and Caldwell was performing this study, we were able to actually receive some funds from Senate Bill 7 to go out and acquire some properties along the way. And just to kind of give everybody orientation here, this is the municipal golf course. This is Fairview Road coming down 74A, and then Swannanoa River. The Walmart sits kind of off the screen to the left. We were able to go out and acquire five parcels of property out there. If y'all remember, there was the Tasty Diner was down there, Spirits on the River was down there, there was a storage facility, and then there was a John Deere dealership on there that the city was able to go out, acquire, remove the buildings. The key there was several of those were repetitive loss structures. So that means that they had suffered damage previously, and through various insurance claims had came up and received funds for those. So this was a way to take that repetitive loss from FEMA's payouts that they would be doing through the insurance. Brown and Caldwell performed this study. Some of the projects that they came out and recommended was to improve the warning and notification systems that we have. This is ongoing currently with the Corps of Engineers. We've slid everything Brown and Caldwell did. We've handed that over to the Corps, and we're looking at tweaking that and improving that. But certainly mentioned earlier was the rain gauges and stream gauges that we were able to partner with the National Weather Service and install in the Swannanoa Basin. That's been a key component in helping really improve the data that we've been able to collect here. So we know we have room to work here, and that's something that's definitely on our radar to get a more proactive measure to improve these notifications. Our ultimate goal would be able to take the data from the rain gauges and the stream gauges and actually be able to model that to where when the stream reaches a certain level with a certain amount of rainfall in the basin, it started notifying the emergency responders. It started notifying key team members to say, hey, we need to go look at this area on Swannanoa River Road. So that's our goal with this project. one of the recommended projects was the Biltmore Avenue Bridge flood mitigation project. What this project entails is actually removing the floodplain fill here both upstream in this location and downstream of the bridge. And if y'all go out there, if y'all been down to Zoe's Kitchen, parking that lot across the way, you'll see basically what's happened over years is that the floodplain has been encroached into there. So that parking lot has been filled in, and it necks down the flow of the Swannoa River through there. So this project alone is going to reduce flooding in the magnitude of 0.3 to 0.5 of a foot in Biltmore Village. So this is a key project in this process. Another recommended project was the Lake Craig Dam Rehabilitation and Floodplain Restoration Project. So this is a project that we've actually been able to begin, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But what the recommended plan means is, the plan is to reduce flooding, or reduce potential damage to property, risk to human life, but ultimately flooding is going to continue in the Swannoa Basin. We want to get educated on that. We want to take what measures we can to help reduce that, the impacts to those. It's going to take a great deal of cooperation between all the communities out there. It's going to take partnerships. It's going to take pretty deep conversations to make these projects happen with both the county, the city, the state, the Corps of Engineers, and private and public property owners along the way. And we do want to continue the involvement of the Corps of Engineers. The Corps brings quite a bit of money to the table when it comes to these flood mitigation projects. Currently, they can offer up to $7.5 million. I understand that they passed new legislation this past session that lifts that cap up to $10.5 million. So we're excited about that. We haven't heard how the actual dealings there will be, but we're hopeful that it will impact our project, and we'll see that extra $3 million come along. Did want to talk briefly about our Lake Craig Azalea Road project. Has anybody been out near Lake Craig Azalea Road lately? A lot going on out there. We really are looking at this project in two phases. Phase one, which is currently underway, Young McQueen's the contractor out there doing the work. Phase one includes the flood mitigation efforts with a stream restoration and some floodplain fill removal. Also associated with this was the water line extension out to the soccer complex. Improvements to Azalea Road. If y'all have navigated that facility, it's a very tight road with a lot of traffic on it, especially on Saturday mornings. All the soccer folks are coming in and out of there, and it's a really tight fit. We wanted to add bike lanes and sidewalk to this project also, so to really add that pedestrian, multimodal type atmosphere out there. Phase two is currently unfunded. This is what we're having conversations with about the Corps of Engineers, and this would consist of a dam rehabilitation or replacement to the existing structure out there. The existing structure is a breach structure. If you go out there and look, it was a dam up till the late 1950s. Backed up water through there, boathouse, a lot of amenities out there, but now it's breached, so water flows, low flow through there all the time. But still having a lot of conversations with the Corps, and the challenges that we're facing with this project is the benefit cost associated with it. So you can imagine upgrading a dam. It's got quite a bit of cost associated with it. So we are continuing our conversations with the Corps. Did want to give y'all a recent picture talking about the stream relocation. It's not very easy to relocate a river, especially one with the magnitude of the Swannoa. So this took a lot of conversations with the permitting agencies, a lot of permits, a lot of on-site meetings to get out there and actually selecting a good contractor who'd been in there and been able to do this work before. So what I want to show you here, this is actually how it looks today. The stream used to go and hug the bank down through here. As you go out here and walk, you can see where that bank has been eaten out before during these rain events and storm events. It's just lined with riprap all up through there. So NC 81 is down here. The Azalea Road intersects right here. So we're really trying to protect both those roadways. 81 is a major corridor for Buncombe County. Azalea Road, of course, has a lot of traffic on it also, so we're really trying to make those improvements. We were able to go in here and basically remove some floodplain fill and open up that floodplain bench. So, with that, you get reduced velocities down through there, so, it really reduces sedimentation downstream also. Upstream of the existing structure, we're going to be removing a lot of material out of there. It's about 1.7 million gallons of storage that we're going to add. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of depth reduction in Biltmore Village, but it does slow the water down. As it comes down through there, you're going to have a place for this water to settle out. So it's a very exciting project, currently underway. We're looking at being done later this year with that project. Here's just an aerial with some overlays on that, but here's the intersection of 81 and Swannanoa River Road. We are partnering with DOT in there. During a lot of the public meetings we were having, we had a lot of interaction with citizens who were wanting to see a turn lane and a traffic signal there. So we were able to partner with DOT to make that happen. So in this area, there will be a left turn lane into Azalea Road with a traffic signal there. So that was a great partnership. What we're looking at along the way up here is actually creating a new roadway down to the soccer complex. And we're going to a one-way setting. So basically from the former Mama T's Boathouse, we're going to be coming down one way with sidewalk and bike lanes, going into a roundabout, and that's going to enter the existing Azalea Road. The opposite side is going to be a one-way facility also with bike lanes over there. So we're looking at taking a very narrow section of road and opening it up to have that multimodal aspect. The areas above, here's the bridge over to Gassett Creek and the Nature Center. The area above there is the area we're removing the floodplain fill. So we're taking this material out. The area below is what the photo showed earlier with that stream restoration. So we're very excited about that stream restoration. I mean, shortly after we did that, I went on site and was looking at the project and looked out there, and there was folks fishing out there, and went out there another day and folks playing with their dogs and interacting with the stream. I mean, that's ultimately the goal there, is to help provide that access, also promote water quality and flood mitigation efforts. So, where we're at now with our project timelines with the Corps of Engineers, they're looking at coming out with a draft feasibility report, and that timeline is looking like it's going to be spring of 2015. That may be pushed depending on some things that they have to do. They have a real strict checks and balances system that they go through. I don't know if anybody in the room's dealt with Corps of Engineers, but it is a lengthy process to go through all their checks and balances. But the reward at the end of the day is the funding that they provide and their technical expertise. Looking at that, once they get the draft, then they go through another set of reviews, and that we're looking at that final feasibility report being out sometime in the winter of 2015 or early 2016. For our Lake Craig Azalea Road project, construction is in progress. We're looking at the completion this winter on that project. Alluding to the Biltmore Avenue Bridge earlier, we are in the process of having engineering services provided on that to look at removing that floodplain fill out. The construction would take place coordinating with the Corps when they were able to do the reviews and have those fundings associated with that. But again, I appreciate y'all's time today. Appreciate you letting us come out here and talk with you about our efforts and what's taking place. And with that, I'll turn it over to Greg again. So.